Welcome back. Call number 67. And we have a friend of the community call back again, Ian McIntyre. My good buddy, he is going to be talking all about Keepa today. Obviously, I think 95, 96, 97% of us use Keepa on a regular basis. But we had a conversation, a couple of us recently, and I realized that Keepa and also even Seller Amp was something that a lot of us really needed either a refresher on. If you're a new seller, you really needed to understand how to use it effectively, which is why we had the master class last week with Miles, which was great. Even as someone who's done tons of scans, I even learned a ton. And so I had a conversation with both Ian and Tony Cruz about Keepa, and they both have really varying, kind of approaches to how to attack Keepa, which is great. We were talking about it a little bit earlier before you guys got on. Sometimes it's the only thing we have in common is that we sell on Amazon. There's so many different ways to approach it, and Ian is going to show us some very different ways to approach Keepa tonight. Tony told me he's going to be watching from behind the scenes, seeing what Ian does, and he's going to reformulate what he does for his call. So this call you want to obviously pay attention to, but we're going to have another one in the next week or two with Tony, and he's going to give us some more sauce on Keepa. But yeah, I just want to keep doing everything that we can to ensure that all of us are making more money and growing our businesses. And I think Keepa is one of those foundational things that we need. Have to shout out Ian. We did just finish a really robust ungating guide. We have a really good free one, but Ian and I have cooked up a really great one to help you increase your ability to be successful, get an ungated. So that is out now. I'll put a code in the notes so you guys have that and you can get it for a discount. And with that, I'm going to introduce my buddy Ian, and he is going to take us through a Keepa course tonight. Very excited about it.
All right, thank you so much. So yeah, we're going to go over Keepa really in a lot of the ways that I use it. So it's very practical. Keepa is a surprisingly robust program that is right 80% of the time. And a lot of people get carried away that it's always right. And the more you use it, you'll discover there's lots of stuff that it doesn't actually capture, or there's missing pieces of information, but that's okay. We're using that to infer different things, and it still means that we experiment some. So we're also going to be looking at Keepa with the information that Amazon provides us and Seller Amp, or insert whatever calculator, Rev Seller, or whatever that you use to be able to infer different pieces of data. Ultimately, most of the time, there's some missing piece of information that makes a listing good. And if you have all of the pieces of information and it's easy to get, chances are it's going to tank at some point. Unfortunately, I don't have any good tank examples. If anybody has any listings they want to throw over in this that show something tanking or about to, or looks really bad, by all means. I just didn't pull those right now. So let me share my screen. There we go. All right. So we're looking at a few things here. First off, we all like sales velocity. That just means how many units it's selling per month. There's 3 places this can be found. Right here, if it's doing over 50 a month, Amazon will often tell us. Down here in the middle graph of Keepa, this yellow line, which gives us an indicator. And then over here in Seller Amp. Seller Amp is by far the most inaccurate. I don't like using this one. It means a lot more when Amazon says it. And it's middle of the road when Keepa says it. Sometimes it's incredibly accurate, and sometimes it's way off. It'll say it's selling 1,000 a month, and no other data reflects that. So we're kind of checking different points of data back and forth with each other. So right here, 200 a month. This happens to say 200 a month. Over in Keepa, we're seeing 200 a month, and Through most of the year, this is pretty consistent, 200 to 800 units. So these kind of numbers look pretty good. Now, right now, we have a massive spike for the holiday season. And we'll see this on a lot of charts today. One of the things to keep in mind also with BSR, so this is your selling rank. The lower it is, the better. It counts momentum, not exact sales. So sometimes you get a listing that is 30 days old and it said it sold 1,000. It will say that if it sold maybe 100. Likewise, sometimes it gives you an indication that something is selling more. Right now, it's not such a big deal with this. We'll see it with some other listings. So what's some of the stuff that we're looking at here with Keepa? First off, a lot of times it will have all of this extra data here. You might like using that. You might not. I find it distracting. So really what I just want to know is what's going on with the buy box. I tend to look at things from the year perspective. 3 month is fine. I don't really like going more narrow than that. 3 month gives you a pretty accurate size of what's going on. And all time obviously depends on how long it's been there. If I'm looking at something like this all time, this is a little old. So let's go pick something that's less than 3 years. Yeah, we'll go with this. For this all time, you can get a better scope of it. Sometimes, let me take a step back. The two largest pieces of data, buy box and offer count. Offer count is velocity, effectively. Every time somebody comes in stock, this goes up. Every time somebody goes out of stock, it goes down. Now, if they come in with 1 unit and sell out of that, it goes down. If they come in with 100 units and sell 99 of them, it doesn't go down. So there needs to be more information in here. But we can start to see when one of the other main things that I like using SellerAmp for is the sellers down here. I like to see what's going on with sellers. This is paired with what's going on with Keepa, this tells you so much. So for example, right now, buy box is $28. Great. If it was 30, oops, I need to jump into that. If it was $30 for the buy box down here, you may or may not be able to get $30, right? So since we're seeing it kind of in the middle, 28, this is where I would gear my pricing. This is what makes sense. If I can get more amazing, these people that are lower are probably going to sell out. This is FBA. You're going to probably get a few more dollars than FBM. But this also shows down here what's going on. So here's an example. You can always just pick an area and it will zoom in. We can see this is all December, right? So we're doing pretty steady. Things are selling. December comes along, sales volume picks up. We are now selling. Did it actually sell 6,000 units in a month? Probably not. Probably sold 3,000 units. So again, this shows a velocity scale. Maybe it was. But you can see people really selling out. Then they're restocking. Then they're selling out. Then they're restocking. And it's going. Now, what happened here? Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes a bunch of sellers will sell out in a day. And sometimes this is an authentic, an IP complaint. Something happens here. And would usually see it doubled like this right away. Again, if it was an IP, it was a false IP or a bunch of people beat it. Or sometimes, again, Keepa just does some weird stuff. So let's look at a few other things to get some idea of this sales velocity. All right, here's a product, 1,000 in the past month. Happens to match up here, that's great. When we're looking at this, this clearly has a lot of sales velocity. We have people coming in and out of stock all the time. And we have the price holding fairly consistent. We go into the 3 month, and you can just see these ups and downs. These are really great signs. Right here. This one's perfect. We see people coming in and selling a ton of these, stocking up for Q4. If I had to guess, this is probably a sale. It could be a lead list. Anything that goes from 3 to 5 people towards 30 either means it was on sale or it landed on a lead list. A lot of lead lists commonly sell to 25 or 30 people. And then sometimes not everybody buys it, but then people share it with the friends. And so before you know it, you get these big run-ups. But this isn't a concern in Q4. This might be a concern right now in January if it's running up like this, if then we might start seeing the price buckle. So we see this go up here. Price is stable higher. We got to run up. Price goes down, right? More sellers on it, price goes down. But we have so much sales velocity in Q4 that people start selling out. And then as the offer count goes back down, our price goes back up. So what we're constantly looking for, at least what I'm looking for, is a trend. What is it trending on doing? This is trending sellers up. That means price is going to come down. Trending sellers down, price is going up. If this is happening, I might come back and buy this product now because the price is going up and it's more favorable. Likewise, when I'm looking at what I'm doing, I want to see this is the bottom price here. We'll say $21. All right, let's just assume I was looking at a $12.22 cost. At $20, this isn't such an attractive product. Maybe it was gotten for cheaper then. But if I'm looking at my downside, then I want to make sure that it works. Okay, let me take a step back. Here's the crazy thing about Keepa. You start to internalize so much of it that when you go to break it down, it's like anything. You're kind of running a little faster. What we want is consistent profit, right? That's all that matters. Consistent profit. How do we do that? We want to sell a lot of products. Some people want high ticket products that tend to sell slow. But ultimately, the faster you sell your products, the more money you make for them, the more you win. What we want to do is see what a product is doing versus what we think will happen next. So if we see a huge rise in offer count, this over here, right? Offer count's going up. Price is holding stable. We see our price up here, it's $36, all the way to here, 32. So you can see it's starting to creep down, but people are coming on and they're selling out. This is the most important thing. When you see a parabolic rise of just 30 sellers jump on, 50 sellers, does it have the volume of selling it to be able to work through that? So over here, we see it's starting to come down. Then what happened? The brand came on. Brand came on and locked the price down. Some people would get some breakout prices, but it locked. This is people starting to sell out. This drop right here is people accepting the inevitable. The brand is not selling out, and they're trying to get out of it. And so now that everybody's out, the price goes back up. The brand is off of it. But something tells me that the brand, actually I know, the brand is making it really, really hard to buy this product now. So now nobody's really getting it. Yeah, one guy, but that's not going to last. Let's go through a handful of Keepas, then I'll ask some questions because getting some feedback will help in seeing where all of this is. So right here, here's a product we can see again because everything is weighted around December. Sales stay pretty consistent here. How many units is this moving? You can see in this middle chart right here. Let me see if sometimes you can do it up. If you turn on sales rank, you can see this. You see these? These are Keepa drops. This is every time it sells. How many units is it selling? I don't know. It could be 1, it could be 5. But I can literally count how many sales roughly this thing is doing. So back here, you have a few people on it. It sold 1. About a month later, it sold some more. All right, it's starting to pick up. Sold 5 or 10. Then it goes slow. So you get a few people selling it, not really selling out. This is not a stellar product for most of the year. What happens over here? Picks up some steam. If I had to guess, this may be a sale or it's in anticipation for Q4. So we start seeing the offer count going up, but people get nervous. Anytime inventory is sitting there and a lot of people are on it, people will try and jump ship. So the price goes down. We hit December and this thing cooks. Ate up everybody's supply in a couple-week period. And as that's happening, repricers and people coming in to reprice are bringing the prices back up. Now, if we go all time, this is interesting, right? We see this big buildup in December, This is kind of just a sleeper, few units here and there. Whoever's been on it has been rolling this for a while. Now we see this actually cooks in December. This will probably fire off really good next year. Same thing. But you have to look, you're either looking at the lower price band, or you know that you're going to hold it a little bit longer and really push it out in the middle of December. Here's a great chart. This sucks at buy box. The cost of the item is $25. The brand is selling it for $25. But the brand runs out of stock often. Now you can see when it's at this price, we see 1,000 units going through here. When that goes away, it starts to drop a lot. Right now it's down to 100 units. Maybe it's at 50 units a month because the price is higher and there's no buy box. But just because there's no buy box doesn't mean you can't sell it. What that means is they're going to have to come here and click see all buying options. And then it's going to show you sellers based on price. And you'll see their price and you'll see their shipping time. And that's how they decide. So you can sell anything without a buy box. And sometimes it just doesn't matter. I've sold tons of stuff without a buy box. But when you see the price here, you buy it for 25. Now all of a sudden we're looking at $46. In some of the pricing, you're at 34% ROI. And you can sell this. Now let's look down at the sellers. When we look at our sellers here, most people are low stocked. So if they don't have a ton of stock, you're going to see them sell out a little bit faster. But you also have to look at the prices. Who are you competing with? So right here, we have 12 sellers. I'll tell you right now, anybody over number 7 here, $44.99, is not even remotely competitive. We don't have a buy box. Lowest price matters. So anybody up here at $50, $48, this isn't competition. They might as well be out of stock. Then when you're looking at this, if there's a buy box, FBM is not really competition. But there is no buy box. So that doesn't matter. Now it's price. This guy's pricing 1 penny below. They have preferential view. But the person coming in might say they take a week to deliver, and this FBA person takes 2 days. And so you can get sales above the FBM person there. But again, now we're just competing on price. But we also notice sometimes people like to group up on price. So we're seeing these $44.99, $44.95s. They're grouping up. Then we get a couple people, $44.91. Nobody's trying to crash the price here. That's the important part. But you can work with this. See another one. And yes, getting really good at Keepa is just looking at a stupid amount of Keepas. And it's what details are you looking for? What are you looking at? How many times are you going to see it? And then what does that mean to you? And so when you have a really good listing that does great, why is it doing good? If you have a listing that you thought was going to do good and tanks, what's going on? And then trying to understand what the other sellers are doing, how they're thinking about it. And we do that by, again, looking at offer count. So over here, kind of not a super great listing. We don't see a whole lot of action here. We have a lot of sellers. It can move a little bit when there's a buy box. But the buy box being off, it's more money. So right here, buy box, $45. So we're seeing 54. This is why it's selling slower. But at the same time, there may be profit there. How do we get the buy box turned back on? I bet you, as we can see, buy box is here, turns off when it goes higher, turns on when it goes lower. Each point this turns on at about $45. I bet you if you turn this back to $45, you might just turn the buy box back on. Now, is that profitable enough to work with? Do you want the volume to increase like that? Or can you turn the buy box on and raise your price and capture more money? These are all the things. Can you hear those dogs? Because I need to close my window.
You're fine. It's very minimal.
Great. I guess the neighbors locked them out. So
yeah, I have a quick question.
Ian.
Yeah, please.
I was going to ask Will's question, but go ahead, Will.
So, before I was going to ask you about Jungle Scalp, but with this one, this is an amazing listing because I don't see a rank. Yet there's a lot of offer count movement. So I'm wondering, like, how'd you find this?
Yeah, great. One of the ways you're going to find a lot of stuff is storefront stocking. Like, is an easy way. to start to find some of these things. Likewise, yeah, with this would be storefront. I think that's how this was found.
Okay.
Generally, the main methods for sourcing, KPF is phenomenal. We're not going over that today, but that is a incredibly powerful tool in Keepa. Storefront stocking, and then manual sourcing, which I do for sales and when you're like hunting specific brands or looking at new sites to see what kind of brands they have.
Okay. And then when you look at sales velocity, do you ever double check with Jungle Scout sales estimator, or you're like, that's not worth it?
I never have.
Okay.
I mean, you certainly can, and it's not bad. It's just I'm looking at a handful of just these various considerations and determining what kind of works.
Okay.
So with this kind of product, I'm guessing it's going to be relatively inexpensive. Sort of. It sells for 53. Who knows? I'd try 5 of them off the rip and just see what it does. And if they cook, and here we have got a lot of history. Wow. So just by looking at this, now I don't really pay attention to anything over a year in terms of how much I can sell it for, but I can see these spikes, right? And there's some products that every 4 months, clearly they have a quarterly sale. The offer count goes from 5 to 50, and then it starts to trickle down, and you start to recognize that every time. Now, you can jump in that sale and sell everything before everyone realizes how bad it's going to get, or you can come in a bit later on it, depending on the pricing, and because a lot of people say at the peak here, people don't want to come back in. They're done. They're done. This one isn't as bad, but like they've been sitting here for 1, 2, 3 months. Somebody's been sitting here trying to sell their units. They're getting frustrated. By the time they sell out of this, a lot of these sellers are like, screw that. I don't ever want to come back to this. But if you bought in over here and you sold out and you're like, wait a minute, this is pretty good. And now you're eating for the next 4 months before anybody catches on. That's a good listing again.
Yeah, sure.
So now some of the other things to consider under the datas tab, looking at buy box statistics. So I like to see buy box statistics, not so much for who owns the buy box the most. That's less concerning to me. I just want to see that there's rotation, right? So on some products, if it's only the brand, right? And I'm looking like, let's see, where's this one? We go to buy box statistics. So I know the feed is the brand. Now, obviously, once the brand came on, other people were still selling it, but sometimes you're just going to have the brand on it. Well, if I go in here, I want to see, are there other sellers actually that have been on it? That gives me an indication that they might play nice, or at least somebody else has done it. Now, one of the things here is when you go to this, there's this range in days. Right now it's showing 30. I'll do like 180. I just want to see what's going on. And now we go 180 up. The buy box is on here, or the brand is on here a lot. But there's also a lot of other people selling here. So the likelihood of them hitting me with an IP, especially when I don't see one on there, seems kind of lower. And there's more room for me to be able to sell on here. The other thing is sometimes if the buy box percentage is really, really high, FBA, and you're trying to do FBM, that might be a little bit of an indicator. Or again, you're trying to FBM and like everybody on here has the FBA check. That might be a little bit trickier. But in general, like I said, I'm not so worried about who has 100 or 80 or 60%. I want to see, are there people here? Are there other people playing the game? Because right now for this one, there's one person. Now I've sold this brand. They made it really restricted on this particular thing. So it's this person probably just got a personal amount. The second they think they're a reseller, they're going to clip them. But for a long time, we were able to play on it. And then, the brand came in and just shut everybody down and everybody had to leave at a loss.
So I have a quick question on that, actually. If you could go back to the buy box statistics, like I noticed a product that I sell last week. I sell at the same price as somebody else, but their buy box share was like twice what mine was. So I'm like, I probably ought to double my inventory. Like, what do you think about that type of thinking?
I don't we can have, let's talk about doubling the order. I don't like that point of entry because I don't control this. Maybe they're in stock enough. Maybe they just have a better supply, so they're in stock more. Maybe they're running some ads. Maybe this is just not exactly accurate.
Okay.
Keepa doesn't record. I had, they were a kid's sock. Can't sell it anymore. But it sold for $25. The buy box up here just showed $25. I sold it for $32 for 6 months. It never registered in the Keepa data up here. So Keepa doesn't capture everything. It captures a lot.
Okay.
But now let's look at something that has good velocity to talk about. This one. Yeah, let's do this. Okay. So what I'm seeing here, this one sells 1,000. You could probably buy any amount of this and be able to sell it. But if you're looking more specifically, we're seeing a lot of movement in the offer count. Some people here are kind of deep stacked. So, you know, your 1s and 3s, they'll sell through, not a problem. You see somebody with 53, chances are they're selling pretty good. You come back in a day or two and you see that they're down 15 units. Like, there's a lot of indicator. So sometimes the offer count doesn't move a whole lot. But when you look at it, everybody's sitting on, like, you know, there's a collective 150 units here. Then it sees why it's not moving up and down as fast. So it kind of gives you this indication that you can go and purchase more product. Let's see a good example on that. Okay. This sucks. This died. Over here, you get these waves of people realizing and then selling a ton of it. And then it's starting to stock up. And you can see the relative inverse, you know, drops down, the price goes up, and we keep chasing it. And then you see something here. It flatlines. The price flatlines. Is there the brand on it? No, the brand's not on. You're seeing some people kind of deep stacked here. It flatlines, and the movement here gets kind of boxy and slow. This product died. It says 50 a month. I don't believe it. There's no 50 a month up here to help corroborate it. This is a little deceptive, right? This looks good if you don't know what you're looking at. And over here, it's great. And over here, it's great. And over here, you see just the nature of this sort of stagnation of lines. It's moving. There's some sales. But also what you see here is a gradual creep down on price. And it just keeps starting to lower and lower. The offer count isn't raising. The price is lowering slowly. This is people trying to get out without losing too much money. So we're looking at multiple data points, right, in the same picture. And not all of it's accurate. So when I look at this over here suggests that it was selling 200, 100, 200 a month. You're seeing it movement. Over here, it's like 200 a month. Really? Looks flat. And when you start to see these flat lines matching up with this, like if the price is always consistent, that doesn't mean anything. But see this trend right here. Starts at 40.88 and just goes down 39. We're going down pennies. These are repricers. When you see things going down consistent pennies, these are people just trying to lower by a penny to get buy box share. The repricer is lowering by a penny, and they're just moving it down. That is a terrible sign of movement. You see right here too. It corresponds with this going down at the top with this almost completely flat offer count. I don't know what Amazon did, but this product is not moving very much anymore. It looks like it is. The past data shows that it is, but right now it's not. Here is a classic IP. Now, one of two things could have happened here. This is probably an IP because nobody really came back on it. This could also be, had this happened over here, right? So Amazon came in, they're now controlling it. The sellers, 20K a month sold. If this was regular sellers on it, this actually might not be an IP. This might be it sold out. But because nobody came back on it and Amazon's been controlling it, that's dead. So these are now something to keep in mind. An IP is not always straight down. If there's 100 sellers on it, it might go straight down. It might go down 40 sellers, because I think, I'm not quite sure of the filing IP process, but I think the company just gets bored or tired, or the end of the day happens. Sometimes the people getting kicked off happens over a couple days. Sometimes they kick like 50 people off and just stop, and they don't come back to it for months. Here's a product that moves. You can order this, do it. They will ban you, or not ban you, but they'll block you after a few orders. This stuff is crazy, right? So up here, we have a couple in stock. We have no buy box. We have no information. When you come down here, you see a consistent sales over 1,000, and you see right here, this is jagged. Look how many, so we go from 22 sellers to 11. Right there, we cut our sellers in half in a couple days. Okay, so a couple things to point out here. There's a lot of information popping up right now. So if you look at my line, right at the top, it says new, $55. Right below that, it says buy box, $66.98. Now the new, that is an FBM seller or something like that. It doesn't mean anything. We're working with buy box. On the next line down, for the yellow line, it shows its sales rank and how many monthly sold. And then below that, not only are we looking at new offer count, but look at the bottom of that, it says Monday, November 3rd. So I use this a lot. Right here, October 30th, it had 22 sellers. Right here, just a couple days later, 13 sellers on the 3rd. It was 11, I'm not going to try and nitpick it. But like half of the sellers gone in 3 days. That's velocity. You look over here, 11 sellers, January 10th, January 11th, 2 sellers. I would buy this by the pallet if I could get it. This thing moves. And here we have a pretty consistent price, right? Our price is 72 to 66. Why does this hold its price integrity better than something else? Because everybody that lowballs it is going to sell out right away. So that's the question then. What happens when somebody lowballs? I really wish I found some of those charts. What happens when somebody starts lowballing? Well, that's when we want to go over and see something.
Excellent.
So let's see. Yeah, I know I got something here. Come on, work with me. Okay, we're starting to drop in price here. Perfect. So we're at $40 here. We're creeping down to 34. So in the past 3 days, somebody's dropping the price. So this is telling me that sales might not be great. The FBM sellers are undercutting the FBA sellers are undercutting the FBM sellers. This is not a great sign. We're seeing price cuts going 5 to 10 cent increments on the way down. These are not good signs. This is telling me it's probably not selling very much, but let's just say it was selling great. And here comes this person who is like, we're all up here selling this at 40 all day long, and they're coming in and selling it at 34. What do you do? Well, first we're going to look at how many units they have. Are they looking like they're going to sell out soon? So if this thing was selling 20 units a month for me, here we have 10 units sitting here. This is probably going to sell out in a week or two. And then we can all party at a higher level again. Or if they came on with 150 units and you're like, oh my God, that's like a month's supply, you might have to match their price or undercut them ever so slightly. So it's a constant ebb and flow, but measuring the other sellers against what you're doing is clutch. So how do you know how many to buy? Here's the thing. In the beginning, you don't exactly know, but we're going to infer some data to figure out. Off the bat, most of the time, I'm coming in with a test buy of 5 to 10 units. So until you're really comfortable dropping more money, it's a brand you've seen this chart 100 times, stay there, 5 to 20 units depending on your store. And they get in and start seeing them sell. Right there, you can gauge a lot. Are you selling them coming in like the second they land? Or have you been sitting on it for a couple months and you're kind of toggling the price? But let's just say you're coming in here. This is saying 100 bought in the past month. So anytime it says that, it could be up to 200. So 50 is 50 to 100. And make no mistake, a lot of people want things that are 200, 500 units a month. The amount of stuff I've sold that says 50. If it says 50, it's a win for me, as long as there aren't like 20 sellers on it. I am happy with that. That means it sells 50 to 100. So how many of that can I capture? So right now, this is also saying 100. Great. We are seeing in the past people come in stock and they sell out of stock pretty fast. And our price has mostly stayed stable, 62 to 56. Now, I'll go into the range in a second. So when I look at this and I go, okay, all of these people are priced somewhat competitive. The FBM is undercutting by 10 bucks. FBA might have to come down 5, or again, this sells 100 a month. This dude has 10. He's going to sell out in 3 days. I don't care. Let him sell out. Now, this person is positioned with 67 units. They happen to be the brand, but they are ready to go. They don't even have a full month's supply right now. So you could come in here if you had some confidence and the supply access. I'd come in here with 40 units. I'd do a test buy at 20 on this. I tried to today. They were sold out. But I'd test buy 20 of this. And my thinking is I can buy 50 of these a month without any problem, because this is the kind of movement I'm seeing. But I still want to test buy it and see what's happening. So what you're trying to do when you're looking at it is, can you determine something that's giving you velocity? How many units it's selling per month? Is it that? Is it this? How are we confirming that? The offer count is moving a lot, preferably down. Then how do we see what that means? We go and look at sellers over here. Now, if we go look at data and our buy box statistics, we have 3 sellers here. And in the last 30 days, we have 6 sellers. So already we're seeing people that have been selling out. We go to 90 days. This is kind of telling me we have a bunch of people have sold out. We have a few people on here, one of them deep stacked. It's moving a lot of units. I can comfortably sell through a lot of this. And when we're looking at our pricing, so a lot of people like to look at, what is it? No, sorry, product details. A lot of people like to look at the 90-day average. Personally, I don't. I just don't ever click on this tab. I don't, it doesn't matter to me what the average is. I want to know what the range is. So if the range here is $60 to $70, did it go below? It went to 54, we'll call it 55. So this range is between 55 and 70. Is it a loss at 55? So at 29, is it a loss at 55? No, it's profitable at its lowest point. This is a win. What if, though, its lowest point was 45? Okay, if the lowest point was 45 and everything is looking higher, I'm comfortable buying this, because even if it goes down that low, I'm still profitable or near break even. Now, what if half the time the brand is on it, it's 30? Now you're looking at a risk of losing money. And unless the brand is like on, like over here, for example, if this is a situation where it's low, high, low, high, low, high, and you're pretty confident it's going to go high again when they sell out, totally, then the risk might be worth it. But if it's low for a long time and spikes high, there's more risk there. Do you want to take a chance of losing money on a product? Sometimes those work for me, but these are the various considerations. It's how much money are you going to put on the line? How are you going to stack those odds in your favor? And so the things I'm doing to stack the odds in my favor: how much is it selling? Are people moving through units? Are there a lot of sellers who are competitively priced? So I think we go over here. Here's a lot of sellers, right? We have sellers marked at $79. Now the brand here is at 74. And the brand is deep stocked. So when that happens, you might have to undercut them by a couple dollars to be able to capture buy box share. So you have all these people at 69. This is probably where most of the action is going to happen. If your repricer is good, you may catch something up here, but you're going to go very slow. I don't view these as competition. If anything, I view the brand right here as I got to undercut them by probably at least $2. Like this 72 person has the right idea. But then I look and everybody's stacked up here. This is probably where the buy box is operating. If it's still profitable, rock out. You're good. If it's selling enough units, you might be able to hang out back here and hang out. But we want to see not only what Keepa is telling us, but what the other sellers are telling us. Any questions on that? All right, I'll go through a couple more, and then I'll show a couple other features of Keepa that can be handy. So here's a product, right? Brand is on it. Brand is holding down the price consistently. It turns out people can get it on sale. And I see that because people are coming on this and the price isn't changing. So they're not looking for an unrealistic price. They start coming in and selling. It looks like the brand's sold out. As people raise the price, the buy box disappears. So what we see is the offer count or monthly sold goes from 1,000 and it starts to trickle down. Now it's down to 50 because the buy box has been off for a bit. This still sells. Like all this movement tells me that this is selling. Now you're not going to sell 100 units of this, but you could probably sell 20 units of this. What if the brand comes back in? So with a listing like this, because the price isn't so much higher and the brand has been really consistent, you're probably pricing it out, you know, your buy cost versus that's $22 instead of what it currently is. What would it be at 22? Well, 22 is still 30% ROI. After a potential prep fee, you're still profitable. So now it's minimal risk. If the brand came back on and you had to sell it for this price, you're experiencing very little risk. So it's comfortable to be able to buy something like this and give it a shot. Even if it's a little slow, you're okay. You have some room to lower the price and still be profitable. This is a perfect Q4 example, right? This is almost like the last one if this just kept going forward. All year, no buy box, slow sales, not really doing a whole lot. Buy box comes back on, Q4, everybody loads up, and it rips. And now it's still good. Is it going to die again like last year? Don't know. If we look at the all-time, you can see, here's a great example. This is a Christmas sale or a lead list, right? Because we're seeing everybody come on. Now you got to think, if everything is FBM, it can come on right when the sale's happening. But if these are FBA sellers, it took all of this to everybody ordered it about here on the 5th. It starts to hit, you know, prep centers, hit people. They start sending it in. It starts checking in 2 weeks to a month later, and everybody's stocked. And oh no, it's after Christmas. See, this year, everybody got it in time for Christmas. It ripped. Last time, it didn't. We're in April. Look at this offer count. This is brutal. 39 people. This was probably a lead list, or like I said, a really big sale. Otherwise, how would that many people jump on it? Plus, there was a dip. People got even more excited. It's selling. It's not. If I see myself on a listing like this, I am jumping out. The second I see the offer count getting up here, I'm the first one lowering my price. Get me out. Because what happens to the pricing up here? 55, it just keeps creeping down, 44, 43, 42. Now we're at 38. Even though it's starting to reverse its trend from seller count, it's not going back up right away. People are pretty committed to getting out of this. And look, even though there's way less sellers, the price never fully recovers. That happens too. So if I see this, I'm out. I want out. I want out on the first wave. If I missed it, I am pricing to move. I will be in front of the pack of 35. Get me out. because all of these guys here, look at this. This is going to be, God, this is January to July. 6 months. People were trapped in this. So one, I'm out in month one. See y'all later. Have fun. Two, who's going to come back and buy this product? It took a year before this went back on people's radar. Now, there are some listings that will wave like this repeatedly, and then you can start to go, oh, when everybody's running away, I can come back in. Or if the price, over here, let's just say the $38 price works, you could still be restocking this for months before anybody else notices again. But these are the kind of things that, like, what is Keepa? Keepa tells you when to buy a product. Keepa also tells you when to sell a product and get out. Because if you're repricing, I look at Keepa for each repricing. I want to see where the active price is. I want to see what the sales price of the other sellers are. Because right now, this is $59. Great. We see seller 1, 59. Seller 2, 59. That's 3 units. This has a buy box. If they sell out of those, next person at 65 might just capture it at 65, or the buy box might turn off. Don't know. But these are the kinds of things that I'm competing against other sellers in the marketplace. Not just the marketplace, not just the item, the other sellers. So I like to get that gauge of where other people are operating from. This thing is selling so much right now. I bet a couple of these people are out of stock and the price has been going up. Last year it supported 68. Doesn't mean it will this year, but some of these people could be in line to make some money on that. So any questions on the barrage of look at Keepa?
Hey, Ian, quick
Yeah.
question on the, you're saying there's only 3 people that there's 3 units. What do you think about those that are hiding their stock?
Great question. So you never know, right?
Right.
Hiding stock, I actually do, because it just makes it harder for people to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so you kind of then you check up on it a little bit. So if I come back in a day and everybody else is out, but that one FBA seller keeps having that 1 unit, they might be hiding their stock. And that's entirely possible. But I will say most people don't. And so there is a little bit of judgment. And sometimes I buy something thinking they're short stocked and they actually have a bunch. But, you start to get a feel sometimes for it. And like I said, if I see a bunch of heavy stocked people, it kind of gives me the idea. And again, you can always just check back. By the time you order the product and it lands, check back. Or, a lot of times I'm repricing as things are sent in, just setting mins and maxes and you can just get a very quick idea. But also, again, we're looking at what data point supports another data point, right? If there's no data points, I feel like this is a good product. That's not a data point. That's just a feeling. But a data point here is this thing is dropping off or count like a rock. Yeah, some of this was December, so we need to be aware of that. But also, it's still continuing. We hit January, and in the last month, we've gone from 15 people down to 5. So odds are this is moving enough product that it probably doesn't even matter if that person is hiding their stock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I come across a lot of on some of the brands, the multiple listings that I have. I come across some of the same people selling it. They're on some of the same listings that I am. You come across some of those same sellers, and they might have 20 units or 50 or 30 or 12. Just kind of have to see whether they're hiding them or not.
And you'll see if you storefront stock some of those sellers, you'll know really fast if you look at 5 or 6 of their listings. Do they all say the same number? Are they having a VA go in and make that adjustment? Would it be a single product? Or a lot of times they just don't care. They don't care. Hell, sometimes you look at it and you're like, oh my God, they have 200. That's crazy amount. I don't want to compete against them.
That's exactly right.
Right. So there's multiple psychologies to it. Ultimately, and especially if you're on a lot of the same listings, you can start to get an idea of how they reprice. Is that person always tanking the listing? Does that person seem to have integrity? Sometimes I reprice because I see another seller and I'm like, oh, they reprice down. They're really on top of the repricing. I better match them.
Or where the hell are they getting it at this price? Because
My
Yeah.
margins are getting smaller.
Yeah, and so it's that's like, even though one of the amazing things about Amazon is how little customer service we have to do. We almost send things off into the void and it happens for us. A lot we do, but ultimately that happens. So this is where it's really helpful to really start to engage with the other sellers they tend to follow consistent patterns, because maybe it's their VA repricing, but the VA is going to follow the same consistent patterns.
Mm-hmm. I did drop a link in there in the chat if you want to look at an item that turned risky.
Let's see. There it is. Let me pull this over. Finish. Oh, yeah. That is a perfect example of runaway. Great example. Okay. So this thing, so we have a really consistent price for a long time. So this is doing $20 for most of the year, 20 to 24. And so these people over here, they're probably selling pretty consistent, 200 units a month. This thing sells 600 now, totally believable. So like I said, that there's a momentum that Keepa can record. So if something's new, or obviously it spikes in December, it will say way more numbers that it's moving. When you see something that's month after month after month doing it, well, that averages out and you're totally fine. So this is totally doing 200, 300, 400 units a month. So whoever's in here is doing great. Somebody discovers this. Now, I don't know if somebody just storefront stalks somebody, but personally, I look at this as probably a lead list, because you're going from 12 people to 38 people. So 26 people. I mean, I'm not kidding. I see 25 to 30 people on something, my brain just goes lead list every time, unless I know there's a big quarterly sale. So what happens is this, though, happens over 6 weeks. So this is people ordering, landing on prep centers, sending in, going through FC transfer, and you just see the offer count climbing. Now you'll see a few of the people in here, they realize that they start to panic. And so we go from 2118, and we are now steadily going down. And if I just pull the mouse every, couple little ticks, it's just pennies are going down. These are repricers fighting it out, by the way. Sometimes these lines get so crazy when two repricers are trying to undercut each other by a penny, it full on curves. You're like, oh my. I think I have a small example of one of them I'll pull up. So right now, this isn't moving. Everyone's fighting for the door. And something about Amazon, when it reaches a certain saturation point, sometimes it deprioritizes the listing. It doesn't make it not searchable or whatever, but this is not selling as many units. Plus, we go over here and golly, these guys are deep stacked. So the people right here trying to get out of there under 10 units, they need to be selling for $12 a pop. Like, get out in front of this crowd, get out, move on, stop thinking about it. The people up here, and this is how long this listing's been going on since October, the people at 1420 are priced out. These are not competitive. These are not paying attention. They're lower than its peak, so they've paid some attention, but these aren't competitive. You have this guy who is deep stacked, probably wholesale order. Maybe not. Okay, this guy's definitely wholesale. 863 reviews. So these guys are probably all wholesale. They're all priced together. These guys are trying to get out badly. You are stuck behind this traffic jam for a long time. So the most ideal place to get out, probably about here in October. Again, going into December, and I use December back to school and Q4 to move any dead inventory. Price it low, get rid of it. There's just more attention on platform. And now at this price, at this point, it doesn't matter what it's going to cost you to get out. This will take 6 months to sell enough units to clear everyone out. So I would just personally get in front of everybody, try and sell my units, and lick my wounds, call it a day, move on. But yeah, about here, lead list. About here, jump with all your might. And here, just resign the inevitable. Any specific questions on it that I didn't cover?
No, That just you were looking for a one that was tough, and that's a tough one.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. And don't get me wrong, I have been on a lot of these. It's here's the thing about items. Oh my goodness, there's so many people on this. Yeah, all of these people are dead in the water. They
It's
have
late lists. I mean, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, they have no idea. These people are going to be holding this for 8 months. Like, it's crazy. There's lots of products you want to work, but I still sell tons of things at a loss. I would rather sell it at a loss, get my money back, and redeploy it than wait 6-8 months to get my money back to redeploy it. Because in that time frame, I could have turned it over twice, made whatever back, and called it a day. And your goal is to get more wins than losses. Also, you could have been selling this for 6 months, 100 units a month, and you got stuck with your last 50 units and you had to sell those at a loss. If you average out the cost of the ASIN over all of this time, you're probably up a bunch. You just took a haircut on the way out the door. Not a problem.
And sometimes you're replanning, you know, maybe you went a little deeper, maybe you went back. I mean, it's just kind of, you know, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. So now here is where the buy box share actually means something. But wait, you say it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it doesn't most of the time. But where's the other data coming in? I'm looking at the 3 people, or 2 of the 3 people in the lion's share of the buy box are the 2 people trying to get out the door with the most units. Not the most, but this guy's got the most. But they're trying to get out of there. This tells me right now in this situation. So the reason why I don't care for this is because of time frames. If it's a short history, that doesn't mean much, or if there's been a ton of sellers, but this hasn't been moving very much in the last 4 months. So whatever data is here, Keepa's probably caught up. And we're seeing these 2 people are just absolutely doing everything they can to get out of this. So if you want to have any chance, you have to compete with them. Is this person here? Looks like they actually ran out of here. This is a major wholesaler. Oh my. Yeah, this person sold out. They got out from their units. 15,000 reviews. That is a major wholesaler. And they saw the writing on the wall. They got out. They push out the units. They're done. Let me see. I think I have one that shows a good little Keepa war example. That's a tiny one. There's a better one. Ah, here we go. Love it. Love it. I mean, I hate seeing this, but I love it. See this? These angles? No, it's not even letting me zoom in. Come on. Wow. Trippy. We'll do that. Nope. All right, doesn't matter. You see how jagged that is? These are 2 reprices. Nobody can manually do this. And if you go down at penny, 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 these are 2 repricers fighting it out. This is why you do not have your repricer set to 1 penny below. Because 2 repricers that do that will just keep fighting each other until everybody loses. Like, this isn't getting sales. This is, you know, but you'll see this. And when you see this sort of stuff, this also gives you a decent idea that a price isn't working. If they are fighting this out over and over again, and I've seen sometimes it's like 5-6 times in a row, it's probably saying the upper band of the price might be harder to get because they're fighting it, and then they're finding a floor where things are selling and everyone can back off. Maybe somebody sells out and they stop fighting over it. So when you see like crazy little Keepa, you know, prices like that. Couple things. So variations are really tricky. How do you know what variations are selling the most? Man, this has been, they actually just made this even, they're separating the reviews, and people will do things like look at review count. Sometimes that helps. In this case, this product's been around for a long time. So odds are whatever the better review count is probably selling more units. And then I go with a lot of basic things. You're looking at, you know, this has a bunch of different units. Black tends to sell more than other colors. If it's clothing, mediums tend to sell more than smalls. You know, XLT, you know, the tall versions of things tend to sell more. But it's just trying to get an idea. Variations can be pretty tricky. And so a lot of times with variations, you're kind of starting a little bit lighter. to see what's going to work or what colors are going to work. And then there's something really helpful here. This is something a lot of people don't do. This is tracking products. So you switch this to or more. So let's say, let me find a really good example of this. Where's our price? Okay, our price was down here at $17.99. There's got to be a more extreme version. Who's got it? Perfect. Even better. Look at that. See? Repricer wars. Repricer wars. Everybody's fighting. They want to bring the price up. And some people will hold the price. And it's amazing. Everyone's holding the price. Nobody's selling any units. So they're trying to push it down and push it down. Okay. But let's say, I mean, see this just tracing down. And you can see this is like every few hours just going down. Okay. But let's just say we're at this price right here, 85. And it's not profitable at 85. And let's just pretend this is a much longer line here. But we want to sell it when it's at 140, but maybe we want to buy it when it gets up to 110 so we can send it in. So we're basically going to, this is going to alert me whenever the price goes back up to 115 or more. So this can tell you when your product, so let's go back to this product. Let's say you still have a great hookup on this product. And if the price was right, you would buy it again. But it's probably going to take 8 months. So you go in and say, the $22 is the price you want, but we want to catch it on the trend. So we'll say, when it's at $20, alert me. So as the price goes back 8 months from now, you've forgotten about it. Enough sellers have come off. Price is trending back up. It hits $20, you get an alert, and it's $20. Now you go reassess it and go, wait a minute, there's way less people on this thing now. Maybe I want to go rebuy it now. So you got to keep alert telling you the price has gone back up. You can go back in, buy that product, send it back in. So it's just a handy tool to be alerted on some of the things that were good for you that might not be, and that you'll forget about by the time they become good again. And there's a couple products that like a year later, everyone sold out, the price recovered, and I sold it for 2 more months, again, at a great price before other people came in and flooded it.
And when you say keep it alert, how are you alerted? By email?
By email or Telegram. And the tracking, when you receive the email, it pops up with 2 hyperlinks where you can either just go to the Amazon link or you can tell it to stop tracking it. So it won't keep bugging you or anything. If you do A to A, you put it for less. If you're doing it to replen from other stores, you do or more.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I had things explained way more simply in my mind, but Keepa is it's like a living document. And so not all the data is there. And we're trying to infer how to get the best advantage. What is going to work best for us? How can we compete against other sellers? If something is moving blindingly fast, if it's selling 1,000 units a month, I do not care who lowballs. It takes so many people bringing the price down to actually depress the price. But if something is moving tens of units or 100 units, but there's a ton of sellers on it, you have a problem. Here, this just sold some units. This is not a fast mover. You're buying 5 to 10 a month for most of the year. Then people start loading up, it gets a little nervous, and then it all sells off. But then what's going to happen after this? We had this big moment. So for the next year, it's probably going to track like most of the rest of the time, which is probably 5 to 10 units. Now, if there's too many people on it, you might want to wait. Or you might feel comfortable and go, you know what, that's good. 5 units, the price is right, I want to get in, and then you see how they move. And it takes you 3 months to move those 5 units. It was a dud. What was going on with this listing when you bought it versus where it's at? Or did you move those 5 units in a week? Now you can buy 20 units. Like that, nothing is better than actual sales. But again, did you sell 20 units over here when you bought more, and now you're seeing a bunch of people on the listing. Maybe not, maybe so.
All right. We still got any other questions? We're a little bit over time, but want to see if we can get some last minute ones in, or if we're good, we can close out. Anybody got anything else?
All right, somebody tell me
And-
something you're confused by. Give me something you had a problem with, because sometimes it's hard to know what you're asking.
Perfect.
So what did just not make sense to you? Somebody. It was worth a shot.
I think it all makes sense. It's just a matter of practice. I mean, I've been doing it for a couple of years myself, but it's just diving into these little intricacies, like you said, where the repricers are just fighting each other, because I've seen it, and it drops and then it tanks, and then you just don't know the future. So, it might be a lead list, but you might be again, it's not finding the product, it's making the product good, that kind of stuff. When a sale happens, and yeah, it's going to go from 5 offer count to 25.
Right. And when that happens, unless you're, it's a big seasonal thing where you're confident the sales for that kind of thing are going to increase. Maybe it's get out. Maybe you look and everybody has like 1 to 3 units and you're stacked with like 30 and you're okay with them selling out. So I always am checking with other sellers. Like, what is going on with this thing? Is everybody over here silently cooking and they're happy? This looks like it definitely swings in price. But if the lower band of the price is profitable to me, then I don't care if I come in the lowest. And then maybe there's more upside. So it is looking at a lot of Keepas, but I always try and run it through that filter. If I'm not sure, we're just trying to guess. And I could be totally wrong too, but like I'm trying to assess what are other sellers thinking. In this one, I'm thinking they're panicking, right? Everything here tells me, and this is an obvious emotion. This is a big emotion. Prices are cratering and sales aren't happening. This is anxiety. How do people react with anxiety? They're going to keep lowering the price. I'll cut it $1 below people to get my units out the door and just be done. I don't need to sit here and play by the penny or by the dime. I already know the trend. This is anxiety. People are going to scramble for the door. Whereas something like this is I can't get enough stock. This is people are moving. Right? Lots of units are going through here. Now, the price may vary. I'm seeing consistent price variance. A lot of times driven by the brand. Is that a sale the brand is doing? Probably. Prices go up and down. There is that window, but there's velocity here. So I see opportunity. Where over here, I see, over here, little bit of concern and then exuberance. And it goes. Do people want to get back in on this? Probably not. A few people are like, hey, that sold pretty good. But over here, people were like, we had a month and a half of anxiety. And then it ripped. Thank God I'm out of that. Right? There's relief when people get stuck and then they can sell and then they don't come back. And that's a great time to pounce. Here, they came in, so it's just, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But it's just trying to understand how are people thinking? And the easiest way to think is how is somebody else thinking? Look at your listing that happened to. How did you feel? If you panicked, if you were looking for the door, if you were holding on too tight for something for too long, then they probably are too. Likewise, if you bought it and it just disappeared, it sold so fast, start leaning into it, buying more of it, and then starting to get an idea, well, is the offer count rising with what you're doing? Do you want to keep an eye on it? Or is it starting to get to the point where the price might start to switch so you want to be first in line, or just keeping an eye on it? But I do this, I reprice weekly, I run through my Keepas and just get a relative idea where things are. If something's just doing what it's supposed to, it's selling a normal number of units, don't really care. But if something isn't moving in the last like 4 or 5 days, I want to know. I want to see what's going on. Did somebody undercut me? Am I out of the buy box? Am I missing the trend altogether? Or do I just need that guy to sell out? Or did the buy box turn off, but it turns off here and there, we're okay. So it's a living, breathing document. It's not always accurate, but they could charge $100 a month for it and I would pay it because it is that essential to our business.
Ian, if there is one thing you could leave folks with, I mean, we have a wide variety of people on the call. As far as like experience is concerned. Anything that you feel like is a critical thing that they should walk away with?
Yeah, things change, so it's worth rechecking. It's worth rechecking the listings that are good, making sure they're still good. It's worth rechecking things that didn't work out. Did they recover, or did it play out how you think it is? It's worth rechecking every now and again listings you weren't sure about, because you might see something new in it. I double check things that I bought and go, why did I buy this? There's other things I didn't buy that I look and go, wait, why didn't I buy this? Understand that the data is always moving. And so you can come back at a later time and get an idea. Did it play out how you thought? Is there a new opportunity? Or sometimes it just smacks you in the face what you did wrong, and that's okay. The more you see, the more you learn, and just give yourself patience. I'll leave you with one anecdote. When I started, it would take me like 30 minutes to vet a lead. Literally, I'm looking at Keepa, I'm looking at the listing, I'm looking at the people, I'm doing the math of the thing, I'm checking the gift card. By the time I'm like, yes, this is a good buy, somebody bought it out. But it's okay, because you start to get to the point where you can size these things up lightning fast, and you might miss some, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't have too much pressure. It's an incredible tool. Just try and chip away at it every day.
All right, perfect. With that, Ian, I want to thank you for joining for another call. And we'll be back again, like I said, with part 2 of this with Tony in the next couple of weeks. Look for that. You will have Ian's contact information in the notes, and we also have a deal running on the Ungating Guide. And it's also a free one too, if you want to check it out. Both of those links will be in the notes, and they're also in the chat. And we'll catch you next time. Live stream on Thursday. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, Ian.
Great. Thank
Have
you.
a good night.